Everyone, we are live for the third episode of Rewriting My Story with Dr. Mondo. I'm Dr. Mondo, of course. And as you can tell, this is a little bit of a different setting. I don't know if you can see what's behind me. I'm at a movie theater. Some of you know how passionate I am about movies, that I recently went to 4 movies in one day. I promise tonight we won't talk about those 4 movies, although I could talk about them all day. I'm actually decided to do this interview here locally because tonight's guest is not someone that I'll be connecting with out of state, out of city. A lot of the guests in this program, of course, are not local here in Sacramento, but this is a guy that is local in Sacramento, and he's more than just local. He's someone that I would consider to be one of the biggest pioneers of the fitness revolution that we have seen in Sacramento, especially in this past decade or in half decade. He is the CEO of Results Gym. His name is Matt Weaver. He's going to come on screen here in a moment. But we're at Matt Weaver's house, and this is quite a house, right? And so we're looking at rooms to pick to decide where we want to shoot this interview at. And I'm thinking, we got to do it in here. We got to do it in your theater room. So we're here in his theater room tonight, and it's kind of fitting because you're going to be watching his story tonight, and you're going to be hearing Matt's story in a way that you've never necessarily heard it before. I'm going to take Matt's laptop. You see it right from behind me. And I'm just going to show you this picture. And I want you to get a good visual of this picture. Can they see that okay?
I think so.
Yeah. So this picture right here is Matt Weaver. And this was Matt. How long ago was this?
That was about 16 years ago.
16 years ago. So 16 years ago, this was Matt Weaver. And what we're going to talk today is about the Matt Weaver that you see here today and the transformation that he's gone through. And it's a transformation, as we talk about, not just on the scale, but a transformation that's happened internally. So, Matt, thank you for sharing that photo. Thank you for opening your home to us. And it's good to see you, brother.
Anything for coffee, man?
Yeah, anything for coffee. That's right. I did bring him coffee. He knows that Matt and I have become good friends, and coffee is like central to our friendship, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, you have to make sure. And I'm a stickler for coffee. Would you call me a coffee snob? To my face?
I'd say connoisseur.
Connoisseur. Okay.
Connoisseur.
That's actually, I appreciate that. Yeah. Some people will call me a coffee snob, but no, Matt.
I'm pretty sure we've never met at Starbucks.
We've never met at Starbucks. Oh, like that is a definite for me. I love taking Matt to just different coffee shops in Midtown and showing him what I believe is the leading coffee industry here in Sac. But anyway, yeah, got Matt a cup of coffee tonight, and we're here to talk about your story in a different way. So, what I like to say when we start off is, this show, again, is not about nutrition advice. It's not about, a certain method of weight loss. But I do want to just introduce you for some of our viewers, because I'm sure there's some people tuning in tonight that, how many thousands of people whose lives have you transformed in Sacramento and throughout California?
Well, in terms of how many lives I've personally transformed, only my own, and I take true credit for it, right? But I've been part of thousands of people's transformations. We started tracking about 3.5 years ago, and since we started tracking, just over 10,000.
10,000, and this is through Results Transformation Center.
We operate 11 centers in Northern California and Northern Nevada. We started 11 years ago, but about 3.5 years ago, we started getting real serious about tracking our success, and I've recently upgraded that vision to help people lose 1 million pounds by the year 2020.
Wow.
But about 250,000 pounds, 10,000 people, and that's since I went all in.
Say that one more time, because I'm having a hard time. How many pounds?
250,000, 250,000.
250,000. Yeah, I was going to say, put it that 250,000. Like, when you hear that number, does that still blow you away, considering your own story and just like, wow?
Yes, and I think for me personally, the way I work is I need a North Star and a compass and a way to measure the impact of what we're doing, and been at this for 11 years, but about 3.5 years ago said, we got a formula, and now we're going to hold ourselves to highest standards and just keep driving that forward. And teams, I'm lucky enough to have a great team of people behind me, and when I said we're going to help people lose 1 million, I think that's something we can all resonate with and wake up every morning and feel excited about. So big numbers, it's not just stuff we throw out there for marketing.
Yeah.
Gives us purpose when we wake up in the morning.
Yeah, that's one of the things, I got involved with you got involved with you, you gave me one of the first opportunities to work with people in your gym. You opened up your doors, and that's how, you know, our friendship started, but also too the opportunity to help, you know, work with people on the emotional side. I can say one of the first gym owner to really get it, but not have to be sold on it because he's lived it. And that's where our friendship started from. You know, we're both guys that can relate to the struggle. We know it's real. Yeah, it's just incredible to just hear the fact that 250,000, $250,000 pounds. I mean, and so again, some of you are tuning in from all over. We found people last week writing in from New Zealand, Australia, and some people around the country, the world, that are tuning in. Just to give you, again, he's not going to brag on himself, but I'm going to, and that's the fact that here in Sacramento, he has started a revolution of fitness. And what's different about their gym is that it's a community. And I think what's sorely lacking, as I've talked about a lot on my videos and on my blog, is that a lot of us are in search of community. We don't have a sense of a place where we belong. And we all have a desire and a need inside of us to belong. And what I think is so amazing about your gym and what you've done, and this is the final point about the gym, we'll move on, but I just have to say it, is that they've created an environment for people to come in and feel like they're a part of something, where they're accepted. You know, I've been in workout classes with you or at your gyms where there's folks that are, probably in some of the best shape of their lives, and there's people that are on their day one of their fitness journeys. And at the end, everyone huddles up and gets together and encourages one another. And so it's a pretty beautiful thing. So Matt, we're not going to talk all about Matt's gyms, but again, Results Transformation Centers, you can Google it, there's links to it, but amazing. And what's more amazing, and what we'll talk about in our very limited time tonight, because we just have an hour, is your story. And again, that is you 16 years ago. I'm so, you know me, man, I'm not a big numbers guy in terms of the scale, but just for impact, how much did you weigh at your highest?
Over 435 pounds. That was the point where...
Over 435.
That's where we couldn't see anymore.
Yeah.
You know, the scale goes to a certain point. Mm-hmm. I call it my HAW, my highest acknowledged weight. Highest
acknowledged weight. Right? Because there's a period of time where like some of us out there listening going, yeah, like I just stopped acknowledging. So 435 pounds, and for you, paint the picture for me. I want to really tell this in somewhat of a linear fashion, in the sense of people see this guy now and they see the way he looks phenomenal. And by no means is it ever a destination, it's always a journey. But at the same time, people see your success and what you've done with these gyms, and they could lose connection with the fact that you really have gone through your own transformation. So 16 years ago, like if you just woke up the day before you changed, just paint a picture, like what is your life like 16 years ago? How are you feeling? What's your day-to-day like? Bring us all into that world.
You know, my day-to-day in that world was, as far as my weight, I was an ostrich. You know, I stuck my head deep into the sand, not because I didn't know I had a weight issue, but because I felt like I could compensate for it with all this other part of my life that I had dialed in.
What was the other parts of your life?
I had a beautiful family, a career, just making the best money that I had in my life, and kind of a go-to resource in a lot of different places.
But you weren't doing gym stuff at the time.
No. I was working in corporate America. That picture that we have there, I was working at AT&T. But I had a pretty good career for a guy that age, 27 years old. I'd done stints as a manager at E-Trade and Wells Fargo, and thought I had my stuff together.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing the weight story since I was a kid.
What do you mean by that? Yeah.
You need to lose weight, and it's not good for you. And I had a cold when I was 10 years old, and it was because I was fat.
Wow.
You know, and it was
so were you resistant then too?
Very resistant. Just stuck my head in the sand and said, I'm doing fine.
Right.
I got this.
Right. So it was like that one area of your life, like, I'm doing fine in just every area of my life. And I hear this a lot from people in the research and the clients, that they say, but there's this one area where in the back of my mind, like, did you actively know that your health was really in a compromised situation? Or were you really, did the ostrich mode work? Does ostrich mode work? Can we really be so avoidant of something like that we really just blindly believe this story that says, yeah, it's really not an issue?
Yes.
You believed it.
100%. 100%.
So, wow.
I remember, very clearly, and I don't know why I can remember it so clearly. I was on this high of how well other things were going. You had a son, a beautiful daughter, pregnant with another daughter, nailing it in my career. .com boom, actually. When I think about it, it was actually, let's see if that was 17 now, it's 2002. So the first .com boom was in the high, the high of it, running on 100 miles overdrive, having all of the answers.
Wow.
And I remember even the trip that it grabbed me by my throat, and I was waiting for one of the biggest paychecks of my life, biggest commission check I had gotten from work. We're at Disneyland. I was making all my family's dreams come true. It was just this amazing, happiest place on earth, happiest time of your life. I sold myself that story, and bought it. Because up until that time, I had no health issues or scares other than the back injury that led me to a little bit more of a sedentary lifestyle before that. And again, I thought it was fine. Other than the fact that, I was having a harder time finding clothes. If I was, shopping in the big and tall, I was on the last X. There was no more X's.
But when you saw that, there was still, like, seeing that, that your weight was increasing, there still wasn't this moment. Because sometimes people go like, well, don't you guys, like, and I say you guys because I've lived it too, like, don't you guys, like, get to this point where you start seeing that there's no more X's to go, that's a big enough warning sign for you, but it really wasn't registering, huh?
I'm sure there are moments, where, you'd have a temporary, but put a smile on someone's face, put a smile on your face, seemingly have it all together. You go in the big and tall store, you make some jokes about it. So
that humor for you, which it is for so many of us, like the mantra of the funny fat guy, like, that was something I know I've used, and it sounds like you used a lot of that for that too.
Yeah, and in fact, if I go back even further to that and I look at my real attachment to that identity, I was a big kid growing up, and I'm sure you'll ask me some things, going back even further, but as a child, I had weight issues as far back as 8 years old.
Yeah.
And it never got better. It only got worse up through when I was 13 years old. I got hit by a truck as a pedestrian crossing the street on Fruit Ridge Road here.
Literally hit by a truck.
40 mile per hour, 1978 GMC full-size truck.
Wow.
Smeared me onto the road. I wake up, ambulance driver looks at me and says, he's coming to. Man, boy, you are so lucky. You're such a big boy. Otherwise, that truck would have killed you.
What?
And I remember him saying that over and over again. And
like that played over and over.
Well, and then after that point in time, right, I survived getting hit by a truck because I'm a big guy.
Wow.
I'm a big guy for a reason.
Like there's a purpose behind
That's right. And then later on, there's more anchoring in it because it served me in a lot of different areas. Then in high school, being a big guy meant you going out for football. That wasn't really my thing, but then they needed somebody to wrestle.
So again, all these ways where it becomes part of your identity, and this is really, again, like, I know you guys are probably resonating with Matt's story, but this is why we say rewriting your story, because you really got pigeonholed into this. You got typecasted as the big guy, it sounds like, from an early part of your life. You then were in ostrich mode, kind of like going into some denial about how bad it really was. When sometimes we see people struggle in maintaining the weight loss, one of the things I say is, well, not only are you getting a new body, you're getting a new story. So, and we'll get into more of that, but I'm taking that in right now, and I'm sure some of you guys are too, that how amazing that this was something, so your entire life, now we've got the ground zero. What was the moment for this guy that had just really embodied, literally his life was saved by being the big guy? What in the heck woke you up to a point that you all of a sudden developed this why to do something? What was your rock bottom moment? Or did you have one of those? Or
I did. It was that same trip I told you about. I can remember that was kind of like the crescendo, the .com, the peak of the .com.
Yeah.
It was, before my bust, it was right about the same time, right? And and go into more in those years that fill in more why that story just got more cemented. I'm a big guy, and I became Spanky. And Spanky became this really cool dude in high school. And then
so what was Spanky? Was Spanky in
alter ego, right? The slowest runner on the football team, the slowest runner on the wrestling team, and the wrestling coach, Coach Rutten. If you're watching Facebook Live, hey, Coach Rutten. God damn it, Spanky. Yeah, I mean, God damn it, Weaver, you look like Spanky from the Little Rascals. Come on. Right, and the whole team, come on, Spanky. Come on, Spanky. But I just always had this method of, all right, it's a negative. I'm going to flip it over into a positive. And I am Spanky.
So you owned it.
I owned it, and then I was Spanky for president, student body president.
Really?
Spanky the nightclub promoter. And
really?
Spanky the party guy.
So if you're going to take this, if you're laughing at me, you're going to be laughing with me instead,
That's
right?
And, my father's family, they were all overweight. That was kind of an accepted, but this is my gene. This is in my family. This is who we are. How can I make this work for me?
Right.
Here I got this accident. Almost killed me. I got this thing that's working for me. It's attention getting. It's making something negative into positive, and it's working. So why change?
So why change it?
Why change?
So you're on that trip. What made you change it?
So I'm 20 years old. My son and my daughter were at Disneyland, and my wife's expecting my third child, my daughter. Mm-hmm. And just some of the, it was a long day. If you ever now, we track how long we walk and whatnot. We probably walked, 20 miles or 15, whatever it was. And
what was that like for you at 435? Yes.
It was just the quietest pain I'd ever experienced in my life.
Like where in your body?
Everywhere. Chest tightening, out of breath, just tired. There was something really out of sorts on this trip. Like something is wrong with me. But I couldn't admit it. I couldn't show any signs of, this was like the best trip, the Disneyland I could ever show my family. First time we could really afford to do the multi-day experience. And
this was like an arrival moment in a lot of ways.
This is it. Look what I've been able to do. And at the same time, there's just something just terribly wrong in my insides. And I thought I was going to have a heart attack at some point during that trip. And, I held it.
And you're holding all that in.
Holding all
so you must have anxiety too, right? Because I would say anxiety is incongruence. Like when we were feeling one thing and we're having to put another face on for the world, like you must have been feeling some panic and stuff.
Oh, 100%.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, there's a spiritual moment in that, right? Because
really?
my wife was pregnant, and our first daughter together was a preemie. And anything will set off preterm labor when you have an undiagnosed preterm pregnancy, the prior pregnancy. It was super high risk.
Okay.
We knew this was the trip we had to get in before we couldn't get any trips in for a while. And I just thought, I'm going to kill over at the Magic Kingdom. My wife's going to go into preterm labor. My kids are going to just be terrorized by this moment. All the kids at Disneyland are going to see the fat man laying out on a gurney, and that story of when I was 13 years old is unraveling right here.
Oh, unraveling right there.
Right
the
there.
Apex of what you had worked so.
So that was the halfway point in my life, 13 and a half years old. I'm 27. When I look back at it, I'm like, wow. 13 years old, get hit by the truck. 27 years old, have this other moment that pivoted the fatness didn't save your life. It's about to cost you your life. It's going to cost you everything you built. It's going to cost you your family.
Yes, wow.
It's going to leave your wife as a widow.
Wow.
And I was praying. I couldn't even admit anything was wrong. I didn't go for help. I said, God, if you get me back to my hotel room, it was like a negotiation.
With God.
With God. Like a hostage. God, if you do this, I'll do this.
So, you were in
panic mode, but I couldn't show it because if I did, all I could think about is the spillover effect. There might have been a little, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I hope I make it to the hotel room. And I remember, God, just if I die, let me die tonight in my sleep in the hotel room. That was my only wish at that moment because it was such a heavy I knew looking at myself and, that day, look what you've done. Look at yourself in the mirror. Like, look what's going down right now. This denial, this ostrich, this.
It was all gone.
It was
everything like you
stripped me down to the bare. I'm like, okay, this is it. I'm going down. This is how it's going down. This is the end of the story right now. And I believe it firmly that I was this close that day. And then I made it back to the hotel room.
So you wake up the next day. Have you thought much about, you wake up the next day after this incredibly intense, traumatizing, day that also was wrapped up with all these other emotions of like wanting this day to be so important, and you wake up, the negotiation took, and you wake up, and is immediately the next day that you go, okay, like, I'm going to follow through on my end of the bargain, I guess, or like, what happens?
Absolutely not, like any God-fearing Christian.
Yeah, you're like, cool, I appreciate that. Anyway, we'll make a deal later. Yeah.
I mean, I just asked, if you're going to take me in my sleep.
Yeah, that's all I said. Yeah.
I didn't make any other promises.
Technically, we did not have a binding agreement.
Right,
yeah.
It was just a one, so I was...
Yeah.
I was like, I remember there was a really bad storm on the way home. It was a February in whatever year that was, because my daughter was born in July. I remember the storm. Every time I make the trip now, I always think back on the trip about everything. I don't have really crisp memories of my past. There's all kinds of, whether it be the getting hit by the truck or trauma in life where you just shut memories out.
Yeah.
I remember that one, like seeing some car tipped over on the side of the road. I mean, my life kept flashing before my eye, and I remember feeling horrible on the ride home and never having these physical feelings. And then on the ride home, I was like, I'll go to the doctor, God, if you let me make it
So
home.
the negotiation continues.
It just kept going. Like, you let me go. You didn't kill me. You didn't let me kill over in the Disneyland. I didn't die in the hotel. Okay.
Wow.
Well, let me pray on this a little bit more and be more intentional about my neck. I'll go to the doctor, God, and get home. I didn't say when.
I didn't say when I go to the doctor. So how long before you go to the doctor?
It's probably a week or two where I'm laying in bed.
But you're laying in bed with another negotiation moment? Or?
Feeling this other out of sorts, let a couple days go by, don't make the phone call, laying in bed, having that same feeling again in bed. And I'm like, okay, I gotta follow through on what I said. I don't want to die in bed now. I didn't die in the hotel. I didn't die on the ride home. I'm not dying in bed. Okay, you don't want me dead. Let me go do my thing. Let me go to the doctor and see what the heck is going on. And that was my bottoming out moment. That's the point in time where I decided it was the choices that I was making that had led me to that point, and then I had to start to own whatever was going to happen next. And I couldn't just stick my head in the sand and pretend like I had it all together, because all the money that I had made was not going to be there anymore, because I probably wouldn't be able to show up to work for much longer in that state. And it really came from more of I've got a third child on the way to support, and a wife I don't want to leave.
That's your why at that moment.
That's I mean, it's been a big anchor. They're older now, but that like my father left me as a child, and I always said, no matter what, I was never going to do that to my kid. No matter how bad it got, my children were never going to woke up and wonder why they don't have a dad, right?
Yeah.
So I realized that you could keep that promise by showing up and being a dad every day, but you could also break that promise by not showing up and taking care of yourself and end it all early a different way. So it wasn't really just about the house you lived in or the money you make. Like, this is all over if I don't take care of myself. So that became, my grounding moment and saying, okay, there's no more, you can't tell a story that's convenient truth about being big. That's not gonna feed your family. That's not gonna give your unborn daughter somebody to wake up and remind her that her daddy loves her.
Do you think that is the most important value, virtue that you've ever set out to have, that you would never, that you would take care of yourself for your kids, to
Absolutely.
be around?
Yeah.
I know I didn't have my dad either. I know it's something that we bond over. My dad didn't take care of himself, and he wasn't around. And while I have forgiven him for that, I miss him still a lot. So I can imagine for you, in that moment, that was really about, we talk about rewriting your story, but that was a part of your story all along. Like, as a kid, there was probably moments when you're like, I'm not going to let my kids go through that.
That's, I mean, I remember it like every day of my life. With all that anger I had, it was kind of like, okay, you go do, there's a whole lot of stories there with my first son from another relationship, and how hard I had to work to honor that promise, and become his father in a real meaningful way. But later, when I realized that everything else I was doing, was almost nothing. If I wasn't going to do this one piece, I couldn't overcompensate in this other. There was nothing I could do in the other areas that are going to overcompensate for not taking my physical wellness as a serious priority. And so it was there's no bigger shift I've ever experienced in my whole life.
It's amazing. So, because one of the things we talk about themes of your story, and just in my experience of knowing you, one of the things that I think you do so well is you kind of own your stuff. And it's really interesting because I see you doing, we talk about when we rewrite our story, in some ways we let some stuff go, and then in other ways we take on new aspects of our story. And I think this one's both for you, because in some ways you owned Spanky, you owned the big guy role, and then at the same time you were living this part of where I was like, you're saying I'm keeping my head in the sand. And what I really see you doing is you now go to this point where you say, no, I'm going to own everything in my life. Like, this is like the one area of your life that you weren't owning, in a way of just being really transparent and saying, these are my choices, this is what I'm doing, I have to do something different. And so what happens then? Like, I know we could spend a long time on it, but like, you start, like, what does a guy who's 430 pounds do? Does he start going to the gym? Does he start, like what was your approach?
Well, everything. Kitchen sink. I went to the doctor, get the phone call back to come back in. It's always great news when the doctor says come back, by the way.
Oh man.
Yeah, we love that phone call.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And the apprehension.
Let's talk about this in person.
Yeah. So, okay, what is it? I come in, they tell me my hemoglobin A1C is 12.8. My blood sugar is over 400. And they say, I don't know how you're here. You should be in a diabetic coma. This is the point where people typically have a stroke.
Oh my gosh.
This is the point where you're going to need to get your affairs in order, and you're going to need to make some.
Get your affairs in order, like they didn't think you're going to live.
They didn't admit me to the hospital.
But they're saying
they're talking
if
about,
you don't stop.
They were saying, we want to admit you, but we're going to see if this works. Your blood sugar's way too high. I'm quite sure, they're undetected things that we uncovered later. I remember wearing glasses for a little while. I haven't worn glasses for a while. But that's from the blood sugar buildup, and you think your vision's just going a little bit, It's not what it is. And I remember seeing veins in my legs and, all of these new discolorations and everything. And I didn't know why. But if you look at it, I was already suffering the ills of advanced diabetes. It wasn't pre-diabetes, it was full-fledged. We should admit you to the hospital, but we're going to see if this metformin and this battery of pills will work, and go see the endocrinologist.
Wow.
And so from there it was, it was, let's see what I can try. It's not like they send you out with a support coach or somebody to walk you through the journey. They send you out with the fear of God prescription and no direction, and a follow-up that's a month and a half later with a specialist who's got about 10 minutes for you.
So why don't you at that point bury your head back in the sand again, like you have on this one particular issue, because that's got to be freaking terrifying.
Well, I made a promise.
So it was this thing about making a promise.
I made a commitment. I told God, I almost lost it at Disneyland, everything, right? And I went back to that over and over again, because it was, I can tell you all the things I tried and how none of them worked, and I wanted to quit, but I always went back to that. Every night I go to sleep, think about what you're thankful for, say your prayers for another day, and what are you going to do? Just turn your back on that commitment. I mean, if God didn't want me in this world, he would have taken me out on many of occasions. And I felt like, okay, I don't know what the hell you're doing with me, but I'm here. I'm still going. So I just need to keep going.
But the commitment part, was that always big for you even before this moment? Like, being true to your word, has that always been a virtue of yours, a value of yours?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've never had much else to work with, right? Other than my reputation, my word, my credibility. And without that, I mean, especially in your prayer, right? I mean, I've not been a, super religious person my whole life, but I've always had strong connection to God, real belief right from the earliest moments. Like, how did I get out of that?
Wow.
Over and over and over again, like look back, like, most people look at the story we'll not even get into. It's a victim story, right? It's a sad story. It's a story of a mother with a nervous breakdown and being a caretaker for your younger brother. It's all wrapped up in, and I heard it, oh, poor Matthew and Billy, it's just, that was the story. And when I look back at it, I was like, well, I thought we were pretty happy. You know, I thought we were pretty good. You know, I felt pretty blessed. I always felt like it was better than it could have been because I saw the parts that people didn't see.
Right.
And I always felt like, well, we made it out of that.
Right.
We made it out of that. We made it out of that. We made it. Wow. We keep making it through the next step. You can't take credit for that, right? You got to give credit where credit's due. And I'm like, okay, I don't know. I'm still here. I better do my part.
I better do my part. So it was a belief and a faith that you had in God, and then it was also this idea of it needs to be reciprocal. I need to do my part.
That's right.
I need to do my part too.
You've blessed me. Clearly, you've blessed me.
Yeah.
You want something from me. Let me see what it is.
Did you ever think though at that moment that it would be? I mean, I don't want to jump from chapter 2 to 15, but for a moment do it. Did you ever think that that's what he wanted for you? He didn't want to save your life. He also wanted to. He didn't want just a dad to be around for their kids, but he also wanted you to just impact all these lives.
No, not at that time. I don't even think until the last 3 years that's even come into play. Like, business is business, life is life, work is work. My relationship is with God. You know, they're all in these little neat, little tidy boxes, and they don't overlap each other.
Yeah.
Right? They're just like, okay, I'm a career guy at AT&T. I'm a guy who's struggling with his weight. You know, I'm a dad. You know, I got these entrepreneurial dreams.
Right.
And I'm just working on them on my own. You know, in that context, I didn't see the deep connection. I didn't see any of it, and frankly, it's all very selfish. At the end of the day, I wanted to keep my promise to my kids and just do what I said I would do in my prayers. Like, if you do this, I'll do this. Like, I mean, so far it's not a bad relationship to have with God. I recognize that that's silly, you know, to think I can pray to God in a negotiation factor, but I also recognize.
Are you the only one?
No, absolutely
no.
I mean,
we all.
no. But I mean, I also know, like, hey,
moments.
doing your part goes a long way in your
yeah.
prayers. You know, it's not just, you can't just be prayerful without action.
Right.
And all my prayers haven't been answered, and many things in my life I can't explain that aren't great. And I could easily play it back in reverse, but I got enough miracles to say, okay, you know, all you can do is do your part, be faithful, pray, and go work hard. That's all I got.
So you take all of that into your journey. Just encapsulate it if you can. I mean, I just, again, there's so many people that are probably watching that are resonating so much with your story because they've lived it or they're there today. One of the biggest things I hear from people, and you hear it probably a billion times more, is when you're really overweight, how do you then make it into a gym without being so in your head about, you know, like, are people checking me out, or or am I gonna have something bad gonna happen to me? I'm gonna keel over here. Did you experience some of that when you started working out?
All of it, and I didn't start with working out. I went to go check out gyms on free passes because it's a natural connection. Okay, you should go to a gym, and but I tried the other stuff first. I knew I needed to go for walks first, right? Like, go for a walk, like, see if you can do 10 minutes of walking without. It was very incremental, you know, buy the shakes or get the hydroxycut, which that was a really bad idea. Like, I still think that they should not sell hydroxycut.
That stuff, Rip Fuel, remember that one?
Whatever it was, all of it.
That would get you
fat burners, and I'm like, they shouldn't sell fat burners to a 435-pound diabetic.
Oh my God! Yeah.
But I tried them, and again, your heart's ripping out of your chest. I'm like, okay, throw those away. That's not going to work. Let me order this thing on the infomercial, and there's just countless things, and it was gym avoidance, of course, because who wants to go get humiliated in public? I mean, that's where I was with my appearance, my physical. You know, the bottom line, gym was full of pretty people, fit people, and my mindset was
like a showcase room. Yeah,
I didn't belong there. And then I did go, and I went on tours of all the gyms. You know, the athletic club was really expensive. The little boutique personal training thing where the guy told you, yeah, you probably shouldn't do this because you could die here. You know,
they said that.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was that bad a shape. I mean, you just, people don't want that liability on their hands. I got bulging disc in my low back. I can barely tie my shoes. They train athletes. I want help. It's not their thing. And man, it didn't matter what part of town, close to work, close to home, in between.
So again, this is an area of your life that you have just completely dug. A lot of times we look for, okay, give me a reason, a justification for me to not do something, but you continue to push on through all of that.
Yeah, but I quit eventually checking out those gyms, and I didn't sign up with anybody. I remember how much resentment I had towards that process and how they almost bullied you in the sales side of things. And I know for sure I would have never signed up on my own because that process was very demeaning, and it was very much an unsupportive world for somebody who was out of shape. And then, in my struggle, one of my good friends and now business partner, saw my struggle, and he's like, dude, you can't do it on your own. Like, you need to get help. Like, you don't change your oil by yourself. Why are you being so damn stubborn? Stop being cheap. Hire a personal trainer. It's like, well, yeah, if I hire a personal trainer, I have to do it at a gym. Okay, come with me to my gym. I was like, you have a gym? You didn't tell me you have a gym.
Is this Pete?
It's Pete, yeah. And he says, well, actually, I don't have a gym. I'm on my cousin's sister's membership. It's right. Fitness.
It's like a Netflix streaming pass. Or HBO Go.
Yeah, he's paying $7 a month.
Exactly.
I'll go with you to this one gym.
Right.
Because this is when I have a membership. But I'll go with you because it'd be easier if I go with you. I'll go with you. But I don't know what to tell you, so hire a trainer. So I go back in, and I had already been to this gym, but it was the closest one to the house, place that he could meet, central. And so I said, well, I got someone in it with me. I don't care how bad it is. Let me sign up.
That shifted something for you.
Big deal.
To not feel like you were on your own.
Right.
You had someone in it with you.
Take the walk of shame out.
Right.
The walk of shame. I don't have to make eye contact with all these people staring at me. I got my homie here. We could just be doing our thing, and I could pretend like I don't care about all these people looking over at me as I'm walking down.
Yeah. Even though you do.
I'm telling you.
Because you said pretend.
Pretend. I mean, again, the process was no different. The acceptance was no different. The people staring at you like you're Jabba the Hutt at a Beyonce video shoot. The bottom line is, I don't care what race you are, or what sexual orientation you are, or if you think you should be able to use any bathroom. You haven't experienced discrimination until you walk into all these gyms at the weight that I was at, wanting desperately for help, knowing you need to do something different, and essentially have body shaming and this look on everybody's face. And was it everybody? No. But was it enough people to know for a fact that people have a hard time putting their jaw in the proper level when they see somebody who is unfit as I was in an environment where everybody was expected to have a certain fitness level already? It's no joke. I mean, I take it very seriously. And I don't know what things are like now. So I'm not 435 pounds or, not at a point where I have to have that same level of concern with, what's going on. But I do know it was a very real feeling, and I do know for a fact that I would have never gone by myself.
Did you have to psych yourself up to go?
I just had someone that was enough.
That was enough. That's so big, I think. Yeah, that was enough.
It's enough. Get me there.
I never knew about Pete too, because Pete, I got a chance, amazing guy. I didn't know that, that is so amazing that Pete. Have you guys ever gone back and talked about that?
Oh yeah. We've always been partners in crime, right? We were the Spanky and Sinister promotions, doing all of that stuff. And then we had children, and we grew up, and did some adulting.
But what a friend though, right? In that moment. What a brother, man.
Yeah, absolutely. I wish we didn't have to go to. I still wish we didn't have to go to 24-hour fitness at the time, right? Because the music boom, boom,
right,
downtown. I was like,
yeah. Was that the one you went to downtown 24?
Going downtown, yeah. And I was just like, dude, of all the gym, I'll pay for the membership. We gotta go here.
Yeah.
This is this is where I want to go after I get fit.
Right.
I'm
yeah.
It's not where I want to go and get fit. So it was hard, and I always tease him. I'm like, your cheap ass had me go to the worst possible place in the whole wide world and put all my shit on display in front of the whole gym. But eventually, it wasn't as painful anymore. It's like a muscle. You go back through and, okay, I'm not here for them. I'm here for me.
So, and you start losing, because I do want to talk about the middle and the end, and I know...
well, I'll just say I had to hire a personal trainer and fire about 5.
Why?
Because they weren't listening. I can't tie my shoes. I have a bulging L4 and L5.
So they were totally
my
unprepared.
A1C is here. I talk to the general manager. I tell him my needs. They ask me, do you want a male trainer or female? I'm like, I need someone who knows about diet and exercise in a way that I can do it because I'm in pain and I don't want to die. Here's the gym. They give me a little cute girl, right, with super intimidating speed and agility specialist, coaches, athlete. You go through that, and I'm just like, I was already $2,000 into this commitment, basically bought the jumbo pack because I knew I needed to be there for a while, and 3 years in personal training, and I'm like, my God, I'm here. I'm taking every step that I possibly can. And this is starting to feel pretty hopeless. And there's many, 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 many moments in that, but I'm like, oh my goodness, how much more can I try? I'm putting my time, my money, my effort. And that was just really, that was hard. It was hard to keep going back after that. And when I was doing my own thing, I'd get kicked off my favorite machine was the elliptical, right? Because low impact on the joints. I'm a big guy, I could spend there all day, watch TV, move more. And the little girls would come up who worked there in their red shirt. And I remember thinking, she notices that I've lost 11 pounds.
Oh, that's what she's coming to talk to you
she's
about.
going to come with a good job. Sir, the weight limit on that machine is 350 pounds. We're going to need you to use one of the treadmills. The only machine I could use in the gym at that point legally was the treadmill. And they would literally have to send people over to let me know.
What would you say?
Okay, thank you. Until, after a while, I developed a little bit of an edge and became a little bit of a jerk.
But here you are
yeah, it was not fun.
Here you are to transform your life. Here you are, like you said, you're feeling victories along the way. I mean, like, how do you rebound from moments like that?
Go home, see your kids, remind yourself why you started.
That is big. So you bring in the moments where you feel discouraged, in the moments where it feels like it's impossible, embarrassing, remind yourself of why you're doing this darn thing.
And the kids, of course, are easy reminders, especially babies. I don't know if they were 7, if it would have been as easy, or if they were 16.
Don't tell me that.
It would all be the same.
Babies are my motivation. I want them to be it for their whole life. Yeah. When they start getting a little bit harder, right? Yeah.
But you got this helpless help. They're at that age where they're.
And you're like, they need you, and this is on me. So it kept coming back. So did the weight take me from 435? And you eventually get down into, like, how much weight do you end up losing?
So, slow grind. I hooked up with a trainer, but you can only afford what you can afford. And I, dropped my initial package. I worked through that. And then I was about a 1 session a week type of guy, unless tax returns or some sort of bonus hit. I was investing a couple $100 a month. Pete was training with me. We were finding ways to get some extras in on, but it was slow. And the weight loss itself was slow. But I was okay being a big guy. This wasn't about looking in the mirror and seeing something different or being sexier for the opposite sex. This was about diabetes and about being there for your kids. So as I was pricking my fingers and my blood sugar was coming down, that's where I was getting my win.
Wow.
So I was like, okay, this is going to be okay. I'm on the right path. These don't look the same as they did. And I don't know if it's the glucophage or if it's the exercise. I just know it's
something's happening.
Rinse, wash, repeat. Right.
There you go.
Just stay at it. And it took about. The weight started. There were a lot of but there were a lot of. Damn, I've been at this weight for 2.5 months, but my blood sugar's at a good place, and I never had that feeling again that I had at Disneyland, and I knew my health was getting better, and I had all these other ways of measuring my progress, lifting something heavier, running or doing things that I couldn't do before. So there was enough to keep me anchored, and the kids, of course, getting a little bit older. It's just kind of like this is manifesting, like life is getting better with the, life is getting better. I'll keep going. And, eventually it ended up, I think through that journey, that leg of my journey, I want to say about 175 pounds.
175.
And that was just, sticking to that same pattern of 5 or 6 days a week in the gym, 1 or 2 sessions a week with my trainer, and a lot of trial and error and guessing, because my trainer was great, but he was just really focused on high school athletes and football. He's a strength and conditioning coach at his core. He'd never helped anybody lose 175 pounds. There was plenty of self-research and trial and error and all that sort of thing. But it was a fun journey too. That was fun. But throughout that process, of course, I was looking for other evidence that other people were having success in that setting. And
Right.
it was really starting to dawn on me that I was kind of a freak show at the front end.
Right.
Because I was the biggest guy in the gym, and then I was a freak show on the back end because no one even knew the journey. There's all these people who just, most of the people I started with were not there. That goes for staff, you know, and members. And so I'm looking around and I'm like, okay, this is kind of, so I'm kind of the exception here.
Yeah. What was that like to recognize that?
It was just, it was, I saw the gap, I saw the hole, I saw the fact that, well, yeah, I did that, but this is not a place where people come do this.
This is not, which leads to, I'm sure, what you're doing now and the work that, like, wanting to make.
That was actually more a doctor moment. I went back to the endocrinologist because they give you a lifetime prognosis of diabetes, and, you know, it's knock on wood, you know, that can happen. Your pancreas can, you know, have different levels of function throughout life, but, you know, my type of diabetes was insulin resistant diabetes, but they give everybody the same prognosis, which is you're probably eventually going to have to escalate your battery of medicine and do this, do that, and they're really just checking in to make sure you didn't go blind or lose a limb in between appointments. That's what I saw. And I stopped taking my medicine because I was managing my blood sugar. And I asked them if I could stop taking it, and they said, no, as a precaution, you need to take it. And I'm like, I'm not down 150 pounds. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. I still had to take this medicine. And then I finally stopped taking it, and I went in and got my A1C levels, and they were like at 5. So, oh, you're doing really good. I said, so am I doing really good for a guy who was extremely obese, and now he's doing better? Am I, you know, is my blood work healthy? Is it good for a 27-year? Oh no, if you're an 18-year-old, you know, you have a great cholesterol, great this, great that. Everything's perfect. Just keep doing what you're doing. I said, including not taking the medicine. I stopped taking the medicine about 6 months ago. Well, if you're not taking the medicine and this is your lab work, then yes, you can stop taking the medicine. I said, does that mean I'm not diabetic anymore? I wanted him to say, you're not. I was there for a fight. Mm-hmm. You told me I'd be diabetic for the rest of I'm a stubborn son of a bitch.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Am I diabetic or am I not diabetic? You tell me. Well, you know, if you came in with this lab work, no, you're not diabetic.
He wouldn't even get you.
Yeah, and then he started, and he was like, but if you don't do this, I said, okay, I get it. If I go back to 430 pounds, I'm probably going to be a diabetic. But if I don't, am I diabetic or am I not diabetic? Well, I would not consider you a diabetic at this time.
So when you hear that, what happens?
Why did you tell me that I'd be a diabetic my whole life? You gave me no hope. You pounded in my head that this was the only regimen. Like, I left here hopeless. I didn't get a lot of help. I went and fought by myself. Why do you do this to your patients? I just asked them because I didn't feel support from the medical communities even as a kid. It was always fat, you know, was the reason why your nose hurt or your neck hurt. And I do get now chronic inflammation and, you know, weakened immune system and all the different things that come with, you know, obesity, right?
But you also know that the shame around it and that
they're not treating you the way they would treat somebody else. They just completely eliminate any of these other possibilities that may be a contributor. You're not heard, you don't have a voice, this is what it is, you're fat, this is it, I got 5 minutes with you, take your pill.
Right.
And so I went in, you know, to challenge him and to kind of fight him on that notion. He said, look, I've taken an oath and I have to honor my oath. Most people don't leave here making the lifestyle changes. And if I told you to take the glucophage, I'm honoring my oath because the odds of you doing the lifestyle change and sticking to it are very low. And if you don't take the glucophage, there's a really good chance you will go blind, you will lose a limb, and that's what I see most of my days with most of my patients. And I'd love it if you can come talking to some of my patients and show them that there is something. But my job is not to give them artificial hope. My job is to treat them with the best course of care that I have at my disposal, and this is what we do. And it was that or the bariatric surgery that they were pushing me to do.
Were they doing that too?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, in retrospect, based on statistical odds, I also understand how effective gastric bypass has been for people with, you know, a high, low functioning diabetes, you know, with low other success in weight loss and whatnot. So I have a lot of respect for the pickle that the doctors are in. And
but still, like, you really experienced it firsthand, and
it just made me angry. It made me realize how many people sat without hope. It made me realize I'm not very special. I'm not very smart or educated, or, you know, I didn't have anything extra going for me why I should be successful. You know, I had enough support, enough money to pay for the training. You know, I had enough, my why was big enough, but the things I had, they weren't that special. You know, it's not like I had a personal chef and all this, you know, the Red Sea was parted and I didn't have to go to work and I went to the biggest loser. I had to incorporate it all in and be the dad and be the husband and be the
all while doing this
and
huge
exactly
transformation.
So I'm like, if I can do this, I know other people can. How come nobody else is doing this here?
Right.
And so, of course, you know, that's what got me into the next leg of my story. But the anchor is really strong, the pains, you know, centered in it, and the resentment and the kind of being a rebel in some senses of saying, look,
harnessing that rebel.
Absolutely. Just like being a big guy, I was like, okay, I spun that around. I was like, I'm going to spin this diabetes thing around. This is my new story. You know, I could be the guy that used to be known as Spanky.
Right. Because you have it in parentheses now on your Facebook, I noticed.
There's a lot of people who know me from
that,
back then.
Exactly, yeah. But they might be like, is that him? Yeah.
And that would always be first.
Right.
And at this time in my life, I was moving out of that. I was like, don't call me that anymore.
No, that's it. So
in fact, we don't even want to talk about him anymore. We're going to try to...
Yeah, like that really is an alter ego.
Yeah, really.
It's like a superhero thing.
We don't let him come out very often.
Do you know, like, looking back, you went through some of my program, through our conversations, we have this a lot about, like, in retrospect, do you know why you were using food for comfort, or would you classify yourself as an emotional eater?
Even now, absolutely.
Do you still classify?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. I mean, you know, we had, those are chapters we told, right? That chapter lasted about 3.5 years, and we've gone back 15. There's been another dozen years after that.
Yeah.
And as I tell people, you don't get to press pause on this thing.
Nope.
This is not a freeze at your best weight. Take a picture and everything stays good.
Life continues, the journey continues.
And what...
So has there been bumps in the journey where you went back to emotional eating?
Absolutely. Absolutely, 100%. And my self-awareness may have picked up over the years.
Do you feel like you learned from it?
In the last several years, yes.
And so what's different?
The amount of time and work that I put into the non-physical side.
The emotional.
Not trying to outrun the issue with physical, really trying to own the fact that, hey, you got to make some big shifts in the way you eat, not being on a diet, but habits and whatnot, and then gaining the weight again and the shame of... Yeah. So I can tell you one part was I felt like I wasn't done after losing at least 175 pounds, right? Because that's the highest acknowledged weight. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Click with Adam Sandler.
I haven't seen it, but I'm aware of it.
But he has this huge pouch left from losing all this weight, and so did I. And it was terrible to look at. It sounded terrible, and it wasn't even that clean, you know, from a hygiene perspective. When you go work out and sweat. And I remember my doctor like advocating, you know, for trying to get the HMO to pay for abdominal reconstructive surgery and getting rid of all the skin, and they wouldn't. And I just felt like, oh man, I'm not finished until I get that. And then I went through that experience, and I saved up for it, and I went and I got all of that skin removed, and I got thousands of sutures put back in my stomach to reconstruct my abdominal muscles that had been torn so wide from being 435 pounds. And I thought that made it, you know, now everything's going to be great. I am who I was supposed to be.
Wow.
And it did not, that's not how that worked out, right? I got less physical, slowed my progress down. It was so painful. The recovery was way longer than I ever thought. It was like starting over again on the physical side. Would
you have done it looking back in hindsight?
I would have done it differently with a lower expectation, more time for recovery. I think it was really important. I don't really think it would be very unsatisfying to look in the mirror at what I was looking at. And there was many, I look back, I'm happier, you know, for having done it than not having done it.
Right.
It was a huge setback. And then lost my grandmother who raised me sometime shortly after that. And I looked back between the slowdown, and then we jumped into the fitness business during the recession, right? The dot-com bust had passed, but we had threw our hat in the ring and opened our first little gym. The whole franchise system failed around. So incorporating don't want to make this too much about the business, but we opened up a franchise with my personal trainer. And it was like, hey, you know what? I want to give this gift back. I got my life back. Let's create a place where we can support people.
Yeah.
No mirrors. Don't shame them. Wherever they're at, we'll meet them there and we'll show them the ropes and be that friend to them and make it work. It really didn't matter how we did that, but we researched some concepts. He picked this one. We invested in him. Peter and I kept our day jobs. He was going to run the gym. If you're out there, I'm sorry about this, but he quit about 2 months into it, and he told me, Matt, I never want to work as hard as you do.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought to myself, shit. He's quitting.
Yeah.
He wants to go back to school.
Wow.
And I knew the only right thing to do was to cut him loose and say, hey, we're going to have to work really hard, and if you don't want to, I respect that. I bought him out. Peter and I bought him out, and then we didn't know what we were doing. And then we had a franchise system that we were part of that had about 80 locations open, 300 sold, and then they folded. And they went bankrupt. And then they had this morally corrupt company. If you're watching Diversified Health and Fitness, you're bankrupt. That bought all their assets, which is basically a receivables company. They're going to send you a bill for your royalties, even though they weren't providing you support. So we're now in a rogue fight in the depths of the recession. The bank cut all of our credit cards. The home mortgage is mortgaged to the hilt. Second mortgage is mortgaged to the hilt. You're borrowing money against a 401k. Most months you're writing a check to the business. My grandmother's dead. I'm finding zero happiness in this mess I've made for myself. And I put on 60 pounds in the course of probably, the 3-year period.
So was that stress or was that?
That was everything.
That was emotional eating too?
It was emotional eating,
what emotions,
too busy.
What emotions were you eating for, you think?
All of them. Stress, sadness, just drown out the noise. I at that point in my life, I had stopped being a drinker by the grace of God. I used to, drink, party like a rock star, and I, for whatever reason, the urges to do that left me, and, the urges to eat cookies never did. The urges for ice cream are still very
So
real.
it was the release, it was the numbing.
It was the, that's how some people relax with a cigarette, some people relax with a bottle of whiskey or bottle of wine, and, cookies and ice cream did it for me.
That was it.
And it's so much more subtle, right? Because nobody around you is like, you got to be careful about those cookies.
Right, no, they want to go have some cookies and ice cream.
Well, not to mention the wife who loved the guy, the big guy. She didn't have any problems with having a husband who was overweight. She loved him all the same. So it's easy to, if you're not feeling good or you're down, and you can put a smile on your husband's face.
That's like the formula to go to.
Yeah, absolutely. And it would always be waiting, and it would always be there, and it was comfortable. I still find comfort in a good, dish, and I'm very aware of my journey not being over. I can fast forward to even this year when I lost my brother. I mean, I actually lost the 60 pounds. Gained the 60 pounds back in front of all my clients, in front of all my employees. Felt a heavy duty amount of shame. I'm working this day job that I'm kind of dredging because all I'm using it is to pay rent and pay the bills at the gym, and almost lose my house in the process, and almost lose your family and all the things that come with just being overcommitted. And then I can't remember what my turning point was. Actually, it was when we started the 6-week challenge. I was really frustrated. It was kind of that turning point in the business where I decided, well, if this doesn't work, I don't care. Like, we'll mail it in after this. I don't want to do this anymore. I'll find somebody who take this off our plate. Like, something's got to change.
Something's got to give.
And I did that first ever challenge with our members that we offered, the 6-week 20-pound challenge, which is an extreme method. And a good friend and mentor of mine had been running challenges for years, but this whole notion of get it for free if you follow the rules. And I was like, I never ask anybody to do anything I wouldn't be willing to do myself. So I put myself with the first group, and it rebooted my everything, right?
Wow.
My weight loss, my commitment to the business. And then I did it a second time, and it was like down 37 pounds. And anyways, I've hit, and we'll talk a little bit more, I'm sure, about ongoing roadblocks, because I see them now for what they are. I don't see, I don't have a story to go with them. I'm like, there's something holding me back here. I haven't gone that next step because of something else, but I zig and I zag, and I move through that story. But then this last year, I just kicked it into overdrive, and I said, I'm going to hit that freaking 200 pounds loss mark.
That was something you zeroed in on.
Yeah, I was like, I need a new anchor. I need a new thing. like I can't rest on this story, you know, the losing the weight and then having lost it back again. I don't want to be that old story. I want a new chapter. I want something else. And this 200 has been an elusive goal, and it must be in my head. And I freaking get there in March or April of last year, and it was just, I did it. I finally broke the sound.
What was that like for you?
I broke the freaking sound barrier.
Broke the sound barrier.
It's just it. After 200 pounds, everything's perfect now.
Wow.
You know, and then it was less than 3 months later, my brother passed away.
Oh my gosh. Tragically.
Yeah, drowning on Lake Tahoe, 4th of July. And that's where, you know, you just get stripped down to the
absolute core. Yeah. Yeah, man. Still so hard.
And all your default behaviors just resurface. And you catch yourself, you know, I catch myself because of my awareness. And I've caught myself. You know, I'm like, okay, you know what you're doing.
But all the default research
stuff in your face when you just can't deal with the now. You know, like I can't deal with this right now. I got a business to run. I got a family to raise. I got a this to do. I got a that to do. You know what? I got to let this slip. And for whatever reason, that's the area. That's the one I choose. The self-care, the routine, the eating. Because I take care of everybody else. I got nephew and niece now that don't have a dad. I got kids that need me. I got a business that needs me. And boom, that's the ball that gets dropped. It's like, the hell am I dropping that ball for? Of all the balls, why is it that ball? But it's that, you know, that's why I know it's, hey, I'm clearly dealing with my emotions still this way. Now it's not nearly as intense, and I don't get as lost in that. I read lots of books. I go lots, you know, experienced 5 days of Tony Robbins last year. I mean, I made this journey something I'm walking, you know, with a high level of awareness and prayer and fellowship and community with all these people. But I went into isolation too. You know, my brother died. I don't want to talk about my brother dying every 10 minutes at the gym. I thank you for caring. Thank you for showing. I don't want to talk about it.
But it became easier to just
disappear, fall off the grid.
And that was,
just keep my commitments to my team, keep my commitments to the business. But when it comes to me, I'm just going to disconnect.
And that's been where food for you and for so many people has come in. So in the moment with
it could be worse, I would say.
But in the moment with the moments where you're sitting there going through, you just reached the mountaintop, the apex, broke the sound barrier, and then all of a sudden you lose your brother. And it's like, what can you do but to try to survive? But going back to that old pattern of survival, that survival skill was to find a way to
mac and cheese,
and
the comfort foods that brought me back to where I was at with my brother. You know, I raised him, you know, de facto dad, which is a regret. I wish I just spent more time as his brother, you know.
But that's what you had to do.
Right, but you know, you go back to those days, and now I know what where the compelling emotion is rooted, and so I can, you know, it's not nearly as dangerous as it used to be, because I was completely numb to where I was at with it. Right now, I'm like, okay, give yourself some grace, Matt. Like, you let this go. You know,
I'd echo that.
You know, just
I'd echo that.
Yeah, just
I'd echo that.
Get over it. This is the off season. You know, the best of the best have off seasons. That wasn't your time. That's not your best time of your life. That's coming.
It is.
You just got to get through it. So, anyways, talking about my brother is just
man.
It's just instant.
Yeah. What comes up when you think about him? Just missing him, huh?
Yep. Still very, very fresh. Plus, I realize that I grieve in waves.
But you have to open that. But even right now,
and I'm proud of the tears. I'm proud of missing him.
You should be.
Yeah, I'm proud of all of it. It's just, you know, I realize I'm like, okay, I didn't get to take a month off.
I remember, because when you were going through that, I was remember thinking about, like, are you slowing down or are you speeding up? And somebody
a little bit of everything.
Yeah, somebody of us speed up, And so do you find now that like it still comes in waves where it hits you so hard?
No, I've definitely let go of a lot of the pain. I mean, you know, speaking my brother's name, talking about that memory, it's not going to change. Yeah, it's not. And I don't want it to change. Because I've gotten way more vulnerable, you know, with expressing myself and letting myself experience pain, not stuffing it.
Yeah.
You know? I'm crying. It's better than eating a, you know, molten lava cake with vanilla ice cream.
Well, and that's something that I could say, like, from even just our journey and our friendship, like watching from the beginning points to now, like, I'm so proud of you for that. Like, that is amazing.
It is neat. You know, I'm like, okay, just deal with it on the right level. Don't get lost in emotion. Be aware when you're making a mistake. Understand it's not the end of the world type of mistake.
But this is part of it. Yeah, it's this grief that
you got to make a decision on what to put in your mouth
3 to 5
multiple
times a day
for the rest of your life. It's not going to be a mistake-free thing if you've got, you know, baggage and, you know, issues that go back to how you were trained to eat and how you know, got to retrain yourself. And, you know, you can hit some stride and some momentum, but when food represents anything other than fuel, you're going to use it in a different way. So getting into just emotional eating in general, like, I get it. Like, I get it. I see it. I feel it. I live it. It's real, and it's a big deal because it's not, there's no shame in eating. Everybody still wants to get together and eat.
Yeah.
We fellowship well over, that's why you and I coffee so much, right? There's, at this point in time, we haven't had enough scientific research to make us feel bad about
coffee. Yes,
you know, but we don't. You know, you and I don't exactly to get together and chow down over big meals or anything. You know, it's because we still like sitting together at a table and having somebody serve us or bring us a cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. You know, that's nice. It allows us to not, you know, care about it. So the food thing and everything that comes with the food, and I've always been a big host and love to feed other people too. I mean, it's not going anywhere, right? So unlike an addict of any other type, and you know, I'd hate to think I'm a food addict, but I'd hate to also not admit that, hey, there's something tugging on you there, and that's what you've used. But it's not the same as somebody who's trying to avoid heroin. Mm-hmm. Heroin's a little harder to come by. Yeah. You know, an alcoholic who's in a 12-step program, I mean, the urge to put a bottle up to your lips is a little different than a fork in your mouth.
100%.
And so, you know, that's why I have such a connection with the journey too, because I always look at it from where somebody else is in their leg of the journey. I'm like, you just don't know where they're at, and don't pretend for 5 minutes to judge or think you can get into their shoes and make a comment about, you know, their weight, or even I've watched, you know, hundreds and hundreds of people also gain weight back too. It's heartbreaking, but
me too.
You know, it literally breaks my heart to see people fall off the wagon, so to speak. But it also, you know, fills my heart to be like, I know what door they're going to feel the safest walking back into when they're ready for help again.
Well, and that's what I say, like, because, you know, 15 years on this journey, and I think it's so jacked up that we would look and only measure success based on whether or not our number on the scale was where it needs to be. The reality is that every time that we hit that bump in the road, every time we experience life and we grieve and we emotionally eat, and like, that is an opportunity to learn about ourselves. That's an opportunity to transcend, you know. And that's what I love about your story, is that your story is real. And anyone that's telling a different story out there, honestly, then you are like the outlier. Because the reality is the majority of people who are able to still maintain, because you're still maintaining the majority of your weight loss, even with the fluctuations. But the majority of people that are doing that are having these, like you said, like that you know, zigzag.
There's nothing linear about this deal.
There's nothing linear, that it's up and it's down. But the point is, and this is what I love and just getting to know you, is that you are dedicated to learning about yourself as you go. You know, even that part of like saying, when we first met, you're like, wow, this stuff about emotional eating, like, it makes me think, like, I think I'm an emotional eater, to the point today where you're like, I know I am. And not only do I know I am, I'm working hard on expressing my emotion. I know when we check in sometimes, you're like, nope, all the marbles in the jar are some of them are being let out. You know, I'm making a point to do that. So I just think, again, like, this is so good for people to hear, because this is what a real journey looks like. If you're thinking that you're going to reach this point and all of a sudden you've arrived, that's your first mistake. And you have to have grace and love with yourself.
There's never been an arrival.
And there won't be, right?
And every single time I insert one, whether it's 200 pounds, whether it's getting rid of the diabetes, whether it's taking the skin off and doing the ab repair, it doesn't matter. It's not over, right? You just like stop telling yourself that there's a place that you're supposed to be getting to. It's called life.
Yeah, you got to
do it.
It's a journey, not a destination. And if we're lucky, we just keep pushing the destination out further and further. It's that trip where usually we want to get somewhere as quick as possible. With this particular destination, we want to extend it, because that extension is our life. We want to live another 10 years, another 20 years, another 30 years. But to think that it's going to be easy along the way is so not the case. I know there's probably a ton of questions. I haven't even had a chance to look at them because I've been so locked into our conversation. In a minute, if you have your phone, maybe we'll go through a few. We'll take a few questions. What do you think the scariest part? Because you went from 400 plus pounds to losing 175, 200 pounds. What is some of the scary, like if you were in a room full of people that have lost that much weight, what would be one thing that you guys could all relate to about one of the scariest experiences that no one else could relate to? Is it like the part of looking at yourself in the mirror, not recognizing yourself? Is it the relationship changes, how people relate to you differently? What is one of the scariest or the scariest?
I think it really depends on the person. I mean, you mentioned a bunch of them, and they can all grip you, depending on your life scenario, your support network, the people you have in your corner, people you can trust and talk to, and you see it at different places. Different genders experience it differently. Mothers experience it differently than fathers. Single people experience it differently than married people. Different occupations, it impacts you differently. Scariest thing, if I were just look at the scariest, like what's scary about it? I guess the scariest thing is your relationship with yourself and managing a relationship with yourself, and like realizing like, okay, there's, me and I, the two of us, we have to have a relationship together. Mm-hmm. And I, you need to start to understand that it's not your weight, it's not your scale. There's a reason behind everything that you're doing, and there's and it can be very scary as you peel it back, because you can get to the physical part of it and then not get to the root of it. And getting to the root of it is hard, and my feelings on that. I'm like, I like to really keep this separate. First I get them to their results. Yeah. And then, because if they work on both, it could be really hard.
Well, I agree with that, because I think it's a lot of change for someone to have all at once.
And it's really scary to try to anticipate, predict, or tell a story about your life, as opposed to creating a story and developing. It's scary. It's scary to get underneath the pain points. It's scary to accept why you hurt. It's scary to not be in control. It's scary to admit, man, I have a lifetime of vulnerability here that I've yet to grab the full grips and control. I feel like I have a really good handle, exponentially better than before. My anchor's moving. It's not just my kids growing up. They're grown up. I have other reasons now, that I want to do this. But I mean, the scariest part is you have to go do that at some point. And it's scary.
So that's the scariest part.
If you really if I was to tell somebody ahead of time, like, okay, I'm going to fast forward you to where you lose 100 pounds, like, you're going to need to actually spend some time doing some work.
So that's the scariest part, though.
I think for most people, if they were really because if it's going to be lasting change, they're going to have to go there.
To go have to do the work. So you believe that in order to be lasting change, I believe that's my bias because of the work I do, but I believe in order to have that change, the amount of energy you put into your physical transformation, you need to put the same, if not more, into your emotional and your internal transformation. And it sounds like, you would agree that's a huge, crucial part.
And it's scary, and it's hard to deal with, and not everybody's ready to deal with it.
Yeah.
I mean, some people are, they're at a place where being at a higher weight for them, that's a more comfortable place in their life to be before they dig that. And some people have to I think, gain and lose the weight a couple of times, a few times. And, I think that's part of people's
part of your journey.
It's part of their journey, yeah. And it's
before they're ready to look at it.
And it's scary because you want it to be science and you want it to be black and white and you stick to the plan and everything's, that's cool, but what would make you not stick to the plan?
Mm-hmm.
Winter times in your life that you haven't stuck to it and peel that back. And you usually get to something, that's beyond, I've got busy. That's not true for everybody. I would say, a lot of people, 20 pounds is the easiest thing to put on accidentally. And, almost every athlete, and this is one thing I try to get through to everybody who's in our program or comes through our doors, is like, watch a boxer, watch a football player, watch an athlete. They don't stay the same weight. They have peak season weight, they have off-season weight, and I don't think they go abusing themselves psychologically because they have peak season.
Mm-hmm.
These boxers gain 20 pounds within 2 days of their official weigh-ins, and we're not talking about 200-pound guys losing, gaining 20. We're talking about the 155-pound boxer having a 15-pound fluctuation.
Mm-hmm.
We're not a fixed object that stays a set weight, and you gotta, you have to be ready for everything that comes with, the dynamics of that. And as soon as you anchor yourself onto the scale or anchor yourself at being a certain weight or anchor yourself onto that, you're gonna lose your grip because eventually something's gonna happen where your weight will fluctuate for one reason or another. And if you haven't done the work to realize everything that you got going on in your head and in your life, you're gonna get frustrated with the wrong things. You're gonna get lost again. You're gonna get totally lost in what's going on, and then you're going to question yourself and you're going to wonder if you're meant to be this way.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, and I don't know that anybody's really equipped to help people that way, soup to nuts. I mean, even with our program, as great as it is, it results, I'm always looking to augment. Okay, how do I keep people in the game forever? Even if there's some areas we gamify it, some areas we create some fellowship around it, some areas we just accept that you got to do it again. And I wish that it was just so easy that you could tell people, in your handbook, you'll see on page 8 that after you lose the
roadmap,
that this is what's going to happen.
This is what you have to tune in to.
And if you start having that conversation with people too prematurely, they're going to shut down.
It's overwhelming.
It's completely overwhelming. And we've done some work and had some pilot groups, and
we're still trying to crack the code.
I'm like, I think it's the psychological change is coming too fast. It's the pain.
Yeah.
The areas of pain are manifesting so bad in some people's journey that I can feel the need to slow this thing down. You know what I mean? Like I feel like we're going to overwhelm them and tip them over.
Right.
Based on where they're at and their pain. We want to put it into a program.
Right.
We want to put it into 8 weeks or 20, whatever it is. Like, that's not how we work as people.
Right.
Like, I'm telling you a 15-year story in an hour.
Yep.
And I don't have enough time to even tell a year of it. You know what I mean? If we're really to get right. And so it's scary if you really, and that's people with a dramatic weight loss. Again, I definitely want to distinguish people with a moderate amount of weight don't necessarily have.
And also not just moderate weight loss and drastic weight loss, but also too, like, I always say there's a big question I ask people off the bat is, did you grow up overweight? And I think that there's something different because you are literally rewriting an entire story of being the funny fat guy or being Spanky and transforming and swapping all of that out, in addition to, from childhood, having some coping mechanisms that you developed, some survival skills you developed around using food for comfort, around using food for safety. So to change all of that all of a sudden is not easy, and it takes a lot of acknowledgement, which again, I don't know, I'm in awe. There's stuff today, just so you guys know, that Matt and I, anyone who knows me, man, it's like, I just love having real conversations, and if I can have a real conversation with you, I'm spending more time with you. If I can't, probably not, but like, we've had real conversations. This was another level of that even tonight, so I'm just like blown away and so appreciative of you taking the time to share your story, because the reality is that why we do this whole broadcast stuff isn't to grow a brand as much as it is to really let people know that they're not all alone. And so I know that the more people are willing to get deep and honest and real, first of all, that is true strength. You know, like, but number two, it's also, there's someone out there right now that is listening that can relate to that, who's lost a loved one, who's gotten the diagnosis of being diabetic, who has been told by their doctor that it's hopeless. They're throwing the towel. Who's been to a gym and been rejected because of their size, or been made to feel like they shouldn't be on certain machines, and the list goes on and on and on. And so tonight, to be able to actually say, you are not alone. And here is a man that has been through it, and he's been through your journey. There's other people saying, what if I lost some of the weight and I gained a little bit of it back? And that's part of the journey. And so you're seeing it in live form because you tell your story, and I just thank you so much for that tonight.
Well, it's a blessing, it's a gift, and so many times you can feel like life has left you as a victim, or God forgot about you, and we were just the little kids who had nothing, and how could my dad leave me here? How could God leave us? Like, this is cold-blooded. Like, that's what it feels like. Like, you feel that pain, and I look back now, and we're in my movie room, got a pretty blessed life, created 100+ jobs. I've helped people in the struggle get through the struggle. I've helped people create careers out of a pain point in their life and a pain point in my life, and I now see it as such a blessing.
Such a
blessing. Thank God for that struggle, and really, it's, I get to wake up every day, and a huge part of, I want to acknowledge the pain, because I think that, like you said, somebody else can relate, and I think too often our industry is just trying to tell you a story of fitness and look at me. To be honest with you, I want to be that guy too. I want the mirror muscles, and I want to be able to take my shirt off at the beach and be shredded like all these guys in the industry. Because I think it would sell more gym memberships.
Sure.
Right? Because that's what our culture is bet. But I know that at the end of the day, there's this just giant group of people who are suffering in silence, and some of them are at 12 pounds that they don't like on their body, but it hurts them like somebody with 150 pounds that they don't want.
Say that, right?
It hurts them just as bad. And I see this weight loss as being really more of a metaphor for having something in your life that you want to get rid of and you want to change about yourself. And I see all these breakthroughs that come, via West. Why we're not Results Weight Loss Center, we're Transformation Center.
Right.
And it's really, it's a blessing. And, I think you probably won't hear me share too much about the sadness or the pain in public, because frankly, I want to show people what can happen with a scar. I don't want to pour my wounds out, to everybody. And I think Pastor Bob had a sermon, weeks back that really hit me, as Christians. And I know this is a secular broadcast, but it's our job to show the scars, and how God's brought us through those things, and not just walk around telling our wound story and how we hurt and how we hurt and how we hurt. And,
or the highlight reel, because people will look at you and go,
Instagram pictures.
Yeah, Matt's life's great. Yeah, Matt. But do people really know?
I have no idea. You know what
That's
I mean?
what I mean.
And I'm like I said, I'm proud of the struggle too. I'm proud of, hey, you know what? Did I gain 20 pounds since my brother passed away? Absolutely. Will I take it off by this spring? You bet your sweet ass I will.
Because you're committed to the long run again. And we just did a story yesterday. Fox came out and did this whole thing, and the whole point of it was like, you got to get your head around. Resolutions are great if you're gonna make them long term, and I think that's like you're saying, is that this long term thinking. This is what it looks like further down the road. It's not this crazy panic of like, oh, I put some weight on. It's this, oh, I noticed that. I'd like to do something about that. I wonder what that was about. Well, I did just lose my brother. Well, I know that sometimes food is an emotional source for me to numb out. Even though I'm working on that, sometimes I do that. I know I'm speeding. And being able to learn from it. And so when we know we're in it for the long haul, we don't have to panic as much about, oh no, it's 20 more pounds, I'm 20 more pounds. Because I'll tell you, honestly, when you do that panic freak out, what ends up happening is you hide more. And then you put on another 20 pounds. It becomes this insurmountable. But when you have grace, compassion, and love for yourself, just to go, this is part of the journey. I know it'll come off. Look at my story. If there's ever been evidence that it will come off, look at my story. But it's not the end of the world, and it's something that I'll just take, one thing at a time. that's so important. And again, it's something that I think so many of you could take that perspective from Matt. Matt, do you have your phone on you?
I do.
Grab your phone. Let's see together if anyone on the Facebook Live has been commenting on it.
I'm sure they have, but now we've got to find it, right?
Yeah, we got to find it. So we'll go there. So again, if any of you are watching right now, this is a great opportunity to ask some questions. Maybe you've written them in there.
Got some comments here.
Yeah, maybe you've written those in there. So let's see.
Hey, Carlos Montoya, I don't know if you're still there, but you might remember us at 24 Hour Fitness. I think you worked there. And I told you my dream, my crazy ass dream, and you said, you're crazy, Spanky. These guys got so much money.
Wow.
These guys got so much whatever. And
look at this.
And I know you vouched for that story before.
That is awesome.
And you said, you're crazy. You said, don't do it.
Don't do it. Look at that. So he sees it, yeah.
Hey, Jennifer, no questions there. Sarah, raw, that's for sure. The sound. It sounds like we needed some more sound. No questions, it looks like.
Great stuff, guys, yeah. People are appreciating it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So again, leave your questions down here. And, Sarah McGuire just says, thank you so much for speaking wisdom and truth. My heart goes out to you. Grateful for your words and compassion. I echo all of that. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. Keep inspiring everyone, Matt. Thank you, Julie, for that. I'll answer for him. He will, because that's just what he's doing. That's part of his story now. Yeah. So, again, guys, leave your questions down here. We'll continue to jump in and we'll continue to respond to this stuff as it comes in. He's not going to plug it, but I am. I'm going to plug this guy's gym, Results Transformation Center. If you're looking to make a change, just go talk to Matt. You could talk to Matt. You could hear about his story. You could hear about these challenges that they have, these 6-week challenges. But one of the things that I love is that I feel confident telling some of my patients who are currently struggling, they're morbidly obese. I feel comfortable saying, yes, you can go in there and you can feel confident that you will be accepted and you will be welcomed. You're welcomed into the family. You'll be a part of the family at Results. And I've just watched countless people go in there and just transform their lives and then actually do this other work that Matt's talking about too. So I would really encourage you to check that out. Check out Matt's gym. It's amazing. And the other thing too is, there's transformation centers everywhere. So you guys just type in Results. You guys can find that. But again, I don't know. The final thing is thank you to Matt for being not just a trailblazer, and you're a trailblazer in the fitness community, but you're not just a trailblazer in the fitness community. You're a trailblazer in this whole journey. And I can tell you that in all honesty, in all seriousness, that you are living the fullness of what it means to be successful in this journey. You are not just addressing one side of it, you're addressing both sides of it. Strength we can often measure by how much we bench press or how much we lift in the gym, how fast we are, a weight number on a scale. I wish we had a way to quantify the level of vulnerability that we measure, the level of courage that we measure. But if we could measure it, I would say that it continues to grow tenfold. And I can just tell you that I'm so proud of you, and I know that if you continue to do it, or when you continue to do it, because I know you will, that it's only going to continue to pay off. So appreciate you, man.
Yeah, appreciate you, Mondo. Love you.
Love you, man.
So yeah, and I just, I also want to say, it's such a different place to be too, because I feel incredibly confident that God will provide, for my family as long as I keep being of service in this way. And, the struggle is the service too. And everybody out there that's part of, what we do or connects with the message some way, there's so much pay it forward going on that we can't see too, just by being honest and being open and, being vulnerable, and even creating a place where people come in and feel comfortable, where they can share their story safely. And, I know there are people who haven't even felt 1 minute of relief from the struggle. They haven't experienced the weight loss yet. They haven't gotten their breakthroughs yet. They haven't uncovered that pain point that, is keeping them where they're at now. And, it's important those people are supported somewhere, on that road, whether
Absolutely.
they lose a pound or don't lose a pound.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's, you know, that's part of the calling too, right? Is the fact that it's not a destination, supporting people through, you know, each and every step, up and down. And it means as much for me to see somebody who's left and, you know, figured out that they can't do it on their own and walk back and say, you know, thanks for accepting me and being here.
Yes.
When I need you. And I think that's a big part of the drive to keep going too. It's certainly not fame, fortune, riches, or any of those things. It would be a very unfulfilled life without knowing that you can have this impact. And we want to measure it in numbers. I want my team we got that 1 million pounds, guys. You know, McDonald's is putting their 1 billionth serve, we're putting our 1 millionth loss.
Might as well measure that.
And let's do it because, you know, it feels great. But, you know, it's really, to me, it's so wonderful. It's a blessing. The struggle's a blessing. The ups are a blessing. The downs are a blessing. And feeling all of it now is really my goal, is to, you know, just feel it all. Don't feel just the good parts. Don't
feel it all.
Feel it all. Highs, lows, and in between. It's life, and it's living, and living is a blessing. And, you know, as long as I'm blessed to keep doing what I'm doing, I'm going to keep going. And, you know, don't quit now. Now's not the time. There's never time to quit.
Yeah, that's crazy, because the minute someone tells this guy that he's going to quit, you better watch out, because you have a history of that, right? Someone tells you can't do something. Someone tells you, yeah.
Oh, you know, now you got a target on your back.
Right.
We got guys claiming to do what we do. You know, people who've never had an unfit moment in their life, who are literally copying and pasting our advertising and our this and that, and bootlegging before and after pictures, and they have no authentic connection to helping people. They just want to make money. They would never help somebody, you know, from an authentic place. And they're chasing the wrong thing. I know I'm going to outrun them. I know I'm going to outlast them. I know I'm going to outwork them. I know I'm going to help more people. And I know in the long run, you know, we need more people on this mission with us. We do need more people besides just my gym. You know, there's way too many people to help for me to think we can help everybody. But I know for sure that, you know, anybody who thinks they're, you know, going to knock off what we're doing without the authenticity of this huge community of people who get what we're doing and connect with it at a real level, they're wasting their time and money, and, you know, we will run laps around them.
Because that's playing the long game. And that's what, you know, I think we'll say to everyone tonight. You got to play the long game with your journey, and it's the same thing. If you're authentic and you're real in your journey, the same with your business model is going to work out over time. So, again, guys, I just thank you so much for tuning in tonight. I know that we're probably out of time. We're not out of time for questions, though. There's been a lot of people that have been watching these broadcasts after they air. They go back and they write questions. Matt, if we could just check those out, we could go back in there. If you have questions for Matt, if there's points of connection that you have too, stuff that you could really resonate with, let Matt know so he can know that he's not all alone. And, you know, again, that's what I want to build, is some community around this. Matt's got a gym. I got an online program, drmondo.org. Click on programs, you'll see all about it. Again, drmondo.org. The other thing is that every single Tuesday night we are committed to doing this live broadcast. So we're going to be back at it again next week with Anthony Masilio. Another amazing transformation story. You got to check this guy out. This guy went from, you know, again, being a guy that was over 300 pounds and just really convinced that, you know, all of his health conditions he was meant to manage like yourself. And he went and he lost hundreds and hundreds of pounds, and now is inspiring tons of people. He's a part of this really cool thing they have down south called the Missing Chins Running Club.
Okay.
And or the Disappearing Chins Running Club. I'm probably saying it wrong, but these guys have been featured recently on the Today Show, and there's all these guys that have just basically said, look, you know, we grew up big, but we have to transform our health. And they have. And so he's going to be sharing his transformation story next week. The whole point of this is to share the stories beyond the before and after pictures. And what you heard tonight was amazingly authentic and real. And I know I was so blessed by it. I know you guys were so blessed by it. And I hope just the telling of it too is blessing for you, too. Because again, I think the more that we can be acquainted with our story in these deep and intimate ways, the more successful we are long term. So again, man, so much thanks and gratitude for you tonight.
All right, well, 2 things I have to end for anybody watching, because I like to put people on the spot, right? So number one is Eventually, I'm going to do this plant-based thing with you.
You think so?
I've told you, I'll give you 30 days.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you when, because I know when
Yeah,
I'm ready to do
yeah.
something big and when I'm not.
Yeah.
I haven't been ready for it, but
You feel like you're ready almost?
not almost. I just know it's coming.
Don't
just
get me excited.
I just know it's going to come, and I'm going to go and put myself on the spot. My man Trevor back east, I told you the same last year.
You don't? That's this
Yeah.
guy you told me about him. Yeah.
So I'm committed to dipping my toe in that water.
You heard it. It's on video.
I'm not sure I'm gonna marry into the.
Hey,
to the.
I just want you to try a few dates.
And
That's
I know
all.
how excited you are, and you're looking great, and I'm
Thank
really
you.
proud
Yeah.
of you for,
Thank you, man.
being
Appreciate
authentic
that.
in that journey.
Oh yeah.
But I also know that we want to bring Dr. Mondo back to our results family. 5,000 strong, and doing big events throughout the year, and I want you on a panel or as a guest.
I would love to, man. I miss
one of our events this year. So
yeah, life kind of happened I had a son 17 months ago, and it's been such an incredible blessing. But it's also it's made life a little challenging with getting out to be involved with you guys, and I miss it. So I would love that.
So I'll do my 30 days of plant-based.
Okay, now you're making agreements here. I like this.
You know how it works.
Exactly. Hey, do your 30 days plant-based whenever you're ready. I'll take you to all the restaurants. I got stuff to get you going on that. And I would absolutely love to get back and with the Results family. I miss them.
Awesome.
Thanks. Miss all you guys. So I appreciate that.
Well, thanks for watching, everybody.
Thank
and
you guys.
Happy to answer questions that you post when we're not live anymore.
Yeah, keep posting them. Tune in next week. Make sure you like this page so you can get notifications when we go live. Again, this is Rewriting Your Story with Dr. Mondo. Big thanks to Matt Weaver. We are out of here. You guys have a great night.